So welcome everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's video we are moving on to the classes of Gnathostomata. Okay, so in the last videos we were discussed about the characters of chordates, vertebrata, urochordata, cephalochordata, and after that I have told you about the classification of vertebrata. There we were discussed about one of the class of Gnatha, that is actually cyclostomata. Now today's videos we are moving on to discuss about the Gnathostomata. As I have already told you that Gnathostomata, it is actually again categorized into two superclass, that is actually Pisces and Tetrapoda. In Pisces itself, class Ostrictius and Contrictius are there. So here we are going to discuss about the characteristics of Contrictius and Ostrictius. See, as in the beginning itself, I told you, for remembering the characteristics of animal kingdom, we should have to compare and study. We should have to compare the characters with other classes or other phyla, and we have to study. Then only we can remember the characters. Otherwise, we will forget it. If we study separately, we will forget it, because in NEET examination, always they will ask questions related to character or related to the examples. Okay, so keep in your mind. So here also we are moving on to the characteristics of Contrictius and Ostrictius. So I have mentioned the characters here. Okay, so just we can have a comparison and we can study. And examples, as I have already told you that I have mentioned in the short videos, all the examples of Contrictius and Ostrictius I have mentioned in the short videos. You have to watch the short videos for remembering the examples. You have to use the tricks. So the tricks are already uploaded now. So the characters, so Contrictius and Ostrictius. See, look at here, Contrictius, they are actually marine. Contrictius are marine. And in case of cyclostomes, I told you that actually the cyclostomes, example, I hope you remember the example, mixin hagfish, petromyzone, okay, that we have already discussed. Now, these organisms, cyclostomes, their lives start in fresh water and end in fresh water. That you keep in your mind. Okay. Now, in case of Contrictius, they are marine. Ostrictius, they are actually both forms are there. Marine forms and freshwater forms are also there. Okay, marine and freshwater forms are there. Now, in case of Contrictius, they have placoid scales. They have placoid scales. Keep in your mind. And in case of Ostrictius, they have cycloid or ctenoid scales. Okay. So Ostrictius are having cycloid or ctenoid scales. Contrictius are having placoid scales. So what about cyclostomes? Cyclostomes, they have actually devoid of scales. Scales are absent, and as well as paired fins are absent. That we have already studied. Okay, so whenever you are going through the other characters, just compare the characters with other classes also or other phyla also. So you actually you can boost your like what is a knowledge. Okay, if you'll do like this. Now next, in Contrictius, see, they are actually having a cartilaginous endoskeleton. Cartilaginous endoskeletons are present. So what about in case of cyclostomes? There also we were discussed that cranium and vertebral columns are cartilaginous. Now in case of Ostrictius, they have bony endoskeleton. See the differences, you have to look at it. Okay, cartilaginous endoskeleton, bony endoskeleton. Now another very important, see, ventral mouth, terminal mouth. Mouth is actually ventral in case of Contrictius. In case of Ostrictius, it is actually terminal. That is also very important. So they can give some example and they can ask us identify the example which are having terminal mouth or which are having actually ventral mouth. So we should know about the characteristics. Okay, then only, like if you know only about the examples, we can't able to write this kind of questions. So if you want to write or if you want to find the answers of all type of questions, we should have to know the characters plus examples. Keep in your mind. Now, see here, gill slit without operculum. Here, gill slit with operculum. Okay, gill slit without operculum, gill slit with operculum. Okay, now see here, two chambered heart. See, that is a similarity. In case of Ostrich and Chondrichthyes, they have two chambered heart. They have a two chambered heart, one auricle and one ventricle. Okay, so Chondrichthyes and Ostrich, they have a two chambered heart, one auricle and one ventricle. Now, see, for excretion and osmoregulation, they have a kidney. So kidney is actually present as a excretory or osmoregulatory organ. Okay, kidney is actually present as an excretory or osmoregulatory organ. Now, see the fertilization. Fertilization in case of Chondrichthyes is actually internal fertilization. Here, Ostrich, it is mostly external. Okay, fertilization in Ostrich is mostly external, but in case of Chondrichthyes, it is internal. Now, along with that, one more point we have to remember in Chondrichthyes. See, in case of Chondrichthyes, see the pelvic fins of male, it bear claspers. Okay, pelvic fins, it bear claspers in male. That you keep in your mind. Now, next, in case of Chondrichthyes, they are viviparous. Chondrichthyes are viviparous. They will give birth to the young one. But in case of Ostrich, they are oviparous. They lay eggs. Okay, so that is the major differences. You have to go through it. So I have already told you that for remembering the characters also we should have to compare and study, then only we can remember. Okay, now in case of Chondrichthyes, we can say that actually both of them are having a streamlined body, so that you have to keep in your mind. Chondrichthyes and Osteotheus are actually having streamlined body. Now in case of Chondrichthyes, actually here air bladder is actually absent, so they have to continuously swim to avoid sinking. Okay, so in order to like avoid sinking, they should have to continuously, they have to swim. Okay, because air bladder is actually absent. Now in case of Ostrich, so they have actually having air bladder, so they can regulate their buoyancy by using the air bladder. So that also you have to keep in your mind. Okay, so these are the major characteristics of Chondrichthyes and Ostrich. So we were already completed the classes like Ostrich and Chondrichthyes. Now we are moving on to the tetrapoda. So superclass tetrapoda, it is having the classes class amphibia, reptilia, apes and mammals. Okay. So as I have already told you that whenever we are studying the characters, we should have to compare and study. So here also I have taken the classes like amphibia, reptilia, apes and mammals, and we have to study the characters by comparing each. Okay. Now first we can discuss about in case of amphibia, both marine as well as in freshwater forms we can observe. So in case of amphibia, marine forms are also there, freshwater forms are also present. Okay. In case of reptilia, they are actually terrestrial. So when we will talk about the habitat of reptilia, they are terrestrial. And aves are also mostly terrestrial. And mammals, they are actually terrestrial as well as aquatic forms are also there. Okay, so amphibia, both the marine and freshwater forms are there. And in case of reptilia, terrestrial forms are present. Apes are also terrestrial, mammals terrestrial as well as aquatic forms. Now, see in case of amphibia, we know that they have a dual life. Dual life in the sense already we have discussed that, we already studied that there will be a larval stage. Okay, that means their development is indirect. Indirect development means there will be a larval stage, and that larvae undergo metamorphosis and into adult. Okay, so that is why they have a dual life. Now here, see in case of reptilia, they are actually having a creeping or crawling mode of movement. Okay, creeping or crawling mode of movement. Now here, in case of apes, actually we know that all the apes can fly. So flying birds, except a few of them are actually flightless birds are there. So flying and flightless birds are there. Now here, in case of mammal, so when we will talk about mammals, see, actually in some of the mammal, the limbs are adapted to fly. In some of the mammals, the limbs are actually adapted to fly. That also you have to keep in your mind. Now, when we will talk about the body forms, see here, scales are actually absent in case of amphibia. So, in case of amphibia, the scales are absent. See, first cyclostomes we were discussed, scales are absent. Then placoid scales. Then after that we were discussed ctenoid scales. Okay, so here scales are actually absent. Okay, now they have a moist skin. So when we will observe the frog, okay, in case of amphibia, they have a moist skin. So scales are absent, moist skin. Okay, now in case of reptilia, see, they have epidermis scales. Scales are present, and as well as we can say that scales or scutes are present. So they'll be having a conified skin. Skins are conified, as like that. They have a conified skins. Okay. Now here, in case of apes, especially in the birds, see when you will observe the forelimb. See here, we can say that. See in case of hind limb, so the hind limb is actually having scales. Okay, so forelimb is actually modified to wings, and hind limb it is actually having scales. Okay, now in case of mammals, see the skin possesses hairs in mammal. So skin possesses hairs in mammals. Now, see, in case of amphibia, they have a bony endoskeleton, and here reptilia, apes, mammals is also having bony endoskeleton. Okay. Now, in case of apes, see the bony endoskeleton, it is actually fully ossified. We can say that actually pneumatic bones are there. It is actually hollow. Pneumatic bones are present. Okay. Now, see here in case of amphibia, see the respiration it take place either through gills or skin lungs. Okay, respiration if it is larval stage, gills, then skin and lungs in adult stage. Okay, then in case of reptilia, lungs act as a respiratory organ. Apes also lungs, mammals also lungs act as a respiratory organ. Now, when we will talk about the circulatory system, especially the heart, see in case of fishes, we were discussed, it is having two chambered heart, one auricular, one ventricle, right? Here it is having actually three chambered heart. See, amphibians are having three chambered heart. Now, reptilians are having three chambered heart except crocodile, because crocodiles are actually having four chambered heart. So in case of reptilia also having three chambered heart, two auricular, one ventricular. Okay, but crocodiles is having four chambered heart, two auricular, two ventricular. Now, apes also having four chambered heart, mammals also having four chambered heart. Now, kidney actually excretion and osmoregulation, it will take place with the help of kidneys in all the classes like amphibia, reptilia, apes and mammals. Kidney act as a excretory and osmoregulatory organ. Now, see here in case of amphibia, actually here fertilization take place external. So, external fertilization, fusion of male and female gamete, it take place outside the body of organism. That is external fertilization. So, in case of amphibia, they are having external fertilization. See all the other like classes like reptilia, apes and mammals, they are having internal fertilization. That means fertilization which take place inside the body of organisms. Now, see here, amphibians, reptilia, aves, they are actually oviparous. Okay, amphibians, reptiles, birds are oviparous. But here, in case of mammals, actually mammals are having viviparous, except egg-laying mammals are there, that is actually platypus. Okay, so except platypus, all the other mammals are viviparous. Okay, now here development, already I mentioned that there will be a larval stage in amphibia, so the development is indirect in amphibia. See, all the other classes, development is actually direct except amphibia. Okay, so these are the major characters. Now when we will talk about amphibia, so we know that the body, it is actually divided into head, trunk and tail in some cases. Okay, so that is actually the another one of the character. Now in case of reptilia, as I have already told you that scales are present. Okay, and some of the reptilia, they will shed their skin as skin cast. Okay, that also you have to keep in your mind. And case of apes, I have already told you that the forelimbs, they are actually modified to wings for flying, and hind limbs, it is used for clasping and walking. Okay, now apart from this, see in case of apes, see their body is actually devoid of glands, except in the tail. In the tail it is having oil glands. Okay, that also you have to keep in your mind. So these are the, in case of mammals, we can say that actually mammals, mammary glands are present for nourishing the young ones. Okay, so these are the major characteristics in all the classes. So, and examples I have already told you that it is mentioned in my YouTube channel. You have to watch the tricks and learn all the examples. Again, I'm telling you, examples are very important. Example based question or example plus character based question can be expected for this examination. Okay, so that's all about the animal kingdom. So we have completed the animal kingdom chapter. You have to go through the chapter. Always whenever you are reading the chapters, you just compare the characters and study. Okay, so thank you.